entertainment, from hit TV shows to your favorite sports like the NBA or NFL. All things music, movies, and beyond, while trying to make sense of this crazy world we live in. All while keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive since 2011. And now your host, live from the nation's capital of Washington, D.C., Lee Sanders.
Hey, boys and girls, what is going on? Lee Sanders with you guys for this Monday night edition of the RCWR show. Oh, yes, I cannot believe it is already October 13th, 2025. Half of October, almost in the books. Good God almighty. And then before you know it, that's going to be it for 2025. My God, this calendar year has just gone by so damn fast. How have y'all been? I hope you guys been fantastic. I hope your weekend is good wherever you are, especially if you're over here on the East Coast, Midwest area. I hope that you've been doing okay when it comes to the weather, because good God almighty, the weather has been, I know we saw our last 80-degree day last week. It hit us over here in the DC metropolitan area. I want to say it was around Tuesday, and then that was it. We've pretty much been in sweater mode. I mean, I've seen a couple of people bundle up. I don't think it's that extreme yet, but I've definitely seen people put on the sweaters, okay? And there ain't nothing wrong with that. There ain't nothing wrong with that. Hey, how you guys like the presentation of wait a minute, we got the zoom on. Wait a minute, we got the zoom on thing that's going on. The autofocus thing is on. I was literally getting ready to ask you guys how you guys are liking the new webcam setup. So I got to be very, very careful with my hands, because there is a weird hand gesture thing that, see, it's zooming right now. So I wonder if I go like this, will it maybe, yep, it's tracking me. So if I go maybe this way, it's tracking me. So if I just maybe go like this, I love it. I love it. So yeah, we got us a new webcam. And yeah, I'm liking it right now. It's pretty cool. It is what is this bad boy? It is a OBS bot cam. And I just decided, I had been pushing my Logitech Brio. I'm trying to see if I can find it for you guys. Yes. So let me show you guys what I've been pushing like the past 5 to 7 years now. So here it is. This is the Logitech Brio. And love it. I love it. I highly, highly, highly recommend it and everything, right? But what I wanted was more FPS. Not to get too technical jargon on you guys, but I wanted more FPS. I wanted more advanced specs. I wanted for live streaming presentations to be as more smoother, richer as possible and everything. So I was just doing some research online, and this current webcam, this OBS bot Meet, that's what it's called. It's called an OBS bot Meet. This had came highly recommended. I did a whole bunch of cross-referencing, all that good stuff, and I was like, okay, you know what? This is the direction we need to be going. Let's go ahead and do this. And I have not had enough time to really play around with this. I did mess with the core settings, and then I went into the advanced settings all today, because this cam literally came today. I literally got this today, like about I would say less than 90 minutes ago. So I just barely have been, having enough time playing around with it, but I love it so far. It's really good. I mean, for such a wallop of a punch that this thing packs, all for under $80. you cannot go wrong with this. So I definitely highly recommend you guys look into this, especially for those of you that maybe are on a little bit of a budget, but you want the biggest bang for your buck. And I'll tell you this, just circle back to me. I would say what 90 days, 3 months from now. Circle back to me 3 months from now, 6 months from now, and say, "Hey Lee, how's that webcam doing?" And I'll know exactly what you're talking about. I'll know exactly what you're talking about, and I'll be able to dive into it. So yeah, I've been messing around with that, a little bit of new tech, all that good stuff. Nothing really much else. I am enjoying a fall break for this week. I don't go back and resume classes not until Thursday. So I am kicking back. I'm getting my studies on because next week I've got not one, but two exams that I need to prepare for. So I've got plenty of time to do what I need to do. I got a history exam that's going to be coming up. That one's going to be fun. I got to tell you, and I'm being very sarcastic when I say that because they're hitting me up, and I don't know if a lot of you guys are dealing with this or have dealt with this, but apparently, the way they're going to be doing this exam for history, basically, we're going to get a bunch of key terms, keywords, and then we're going to have to essentially break down some key milestones that happened, how all these key terms are connected with one another, the one big idea. Some instances, there's going to be certain years that's being thrown at us, and we got to automatically know, okay, this went down. So it's little nuances. I'm dreading it. I got to be honest with you. I am dreading it. Otherwise, I can't really complain. I'm enjoying this time off right now, just playing with my dogs, catching up, doing some nice cleaning around the house, all that good stuff, man. So, look, we're definitely going to talk about Monday's WWE Raw. I will also give thoughts about the weekend's Bound for Glory event where we saw the Dudleys, the Dudley boys, retire. I don't think anybody saw that coming. Also, Mike Santana finally becoming the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Not for nothing, guys. I was well aware that TNA Wrestling was doing a pay-per-view over the weekend, but for me, it was just one of those, look, I gotta pace myself. The older that I'm getting, like there's only but so much mentally that I can, even I need to kind of take a step back and decompress a little bit. So that's why if you notice when it came to the talk of TNA, now I will say this, and I'm going to hold myself accountable for this. I can definitely do a better job in making sure I'm staying on top of everything that's going to be going on going into the wrestling weekend because I never meant to shortchange TNA and their coverage, at least giving them 5 minutes where I go over the card, give my general thoughts, preview it and all that, just like we do with the other wrestling pay-per-view events and all of that. I wish I would have at least done that for Bound for Glory, but somehow it slipped. And I think you guys can understand, with all the stuff that I'm juggling. But I actually did watch Bound for Glory in its entirety in real time over the weekend. So I will definitely give my thoughts about that. We also got some fun little wrestling news. I will definitely give my reactions to a lot of these latest round of releases. Get on the bus! We'll talk about that. And we got some interesting Comic-Con news out there from New York, the New York Comic-Con. Some stuff we'll dive into. So you guys picked a really good night to tune in, check out the show and everything. All right, so Monday Night Raw came on at 8 a.m. Eastern here on, United States soil. Heaven forbid you're in the West Coast. If you're in the West Coast, that meant it started for you at 5 in the morning. Ooh. That sucks, right? So for me, it worked out great. I told you guys I was not doing a post show after it was over, because the last thing I was trying to do was come on. Um, and by the way, quick side note before we go any further, if the zooming in kind of irritates you guys a little bit, just let me know and I will gladly turn it off. Right, because I know for some people it can be a little bit distracting. Trust me, it's going to take me a little bit of time to get used to this. The funny thing is, you have to do a certain hand gesture in order to activate it. That's the thing. And as far as I know, I'll have to go back and watch the first couple of minutes of the show. But as far as I know, I did not do the hand gesture. So I would do the hand gesture for you all right now, but somehow, like when you do the hand gesture, it automatically knows, and then it's kind of locked on and all that. It's activated. So, but far as I know, I did not do the hand gesture to activate the tracking. So it's really weird what's going on. But anyway, yeah, I told you guys I was not going to be doing a post show at some 10, 11 something in the morning. Like, no, I was not going to do that. But I did treat today like any other day. I treated it like a normal day. I normally, for me at least, I'm normally up at 8 in the morning anyway, because I've got a couple of online classes I have to take. And usually my day begins as normal on a Monday. I get up, I plot my day. I go hit the treadmill downstairs. I feed my dogs. I take them out for a quick little walk. And then I'm in the studio. I'm getting ready for my online classes. But since I got this fall break, you know, I said, well, no reason for me to sleep all day. Let me still get into the regular groove of things. So for me, I treated it like a normal day. So once I got done doing what I needed to do, caught up on some reading, I was all right. Let me go ahead. Let me turn on Raw. I'm not doing a post show. And really, I'm glad that I experienced the show live in real time. This was a pretty solid edition of Monday Night Raw, fresh off of what all went down from Crown Jewel, Perth, Australia. And look here, man, when it's all said and done, I think WWE heard the message loud and clear when it came to their Crown Jewel event. I think they definitely took it personal that ESPN was like, yo, we're giving WrestlePalooza a C. I'm sure WWE, not just looked at ESPN and that rating, but they also likely listened to a lot of the chatter that was being said online and said, okay, well, you know what? We got to do our best to do better. We got to do our best to make sure that fans know, no, 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 no. You want to be dropping that money. You want to be doing everything in your power to come watch our shows. We know we're asking for a little bit more money now, but it's a damn good investment. Here's why. And I appreciate the fact that with Crown Jewel Perth, WWE tried to emphasize more on the quality of the card. That's the one thing that we didn't talk about at the end with Crown Jewel Perth. Scale of 1 to 10 and the overall grade level. For me, I felt modestly a B minus. I can't go lower. I can't go higher. I felt it was a B minus. So number scale wise, I'm kind of looking at that going, okay, maybe I'll give you a, 7.5. Maybe you're at like a 7.75 or something like that. And it kind of seems that the overall consensus had that same impression as well. Which reminds me, shout out to those of you that had let your voices be heard throughout social media, voting on our interactive poll for Crown Jewel. The way the final tally is looking right now. By the way, shout out to the good folks over there at Wrestle Talk. They got some actually. So it's not them that's breaking the news. It's actually our good friends over at PW Insider. I just happened to see Wrestle Talk on my feed first just now. So looks like we got some Seth Rollins news. We'll get into that in a hot second. But yeah, the way the final tally is looking right now, I'm going to Twitter first for our polling results. And I really did not tweet that much today, so I should be able to find it really quickly. Let's see what we got here. Yep, there it is. Final tally. Wow, we got 2 ties. Oh no, that's the Raw. That's the Raw show. Hang on, that's the Raw show. Here we go. That's a lot better. We do have a tie though for Crown Jewel. Per you guys on Twitter, 7% of you guys said it was a C-rated show. The other half of you said it was a D to a F show. 31% of you said it was a B-rated show. And top dog right now, 52% of you said it was a A-level show. We did not poll you guys on YouTube. I remember that for a fact because when I was creating the poll, I just said, you know what? I really want to sink my teeth into the polling results here. Let's go with, let me just make sure that I'm looking at that right. Hang on here. Make sure I'm looking at that right. Yeah, we did that one. That looks good. Wow. So hang on, guys. Hang on here. Wait, we didn't do a poll? Hang on. This is why I need my glasses, because from what I am able to see here, yeah, forgive me, guys. The polling results that I just gave you, that was actually for another event. I thought we did a poll on Twitter for Crown Jewel. Huh. Yeah, no poll. That's weird. I thought we did a poll for Crown Jewel. But no, I agree with a lot of my friends and colleagues what they've been saying about Crown Jewel Perth. Like I said, I'm giving it a B minus. So that's like a 7.5 basically. So going into tonight's Raw, there definitely was a lot of excitement, definitely great hype. And I tell you what, the card that we had got for this week, pretty good. Of course, the main headline being Seth Rollins and his vision. Well, now it is only a vision in the corner of his eye, as this guy has been betrayed big time by the Bronsons, B&B, as I like to call them, Bronson Reed and then Braun Breaker. It was Braun Breaker who pretty much set the fireworks off, as we had for the main event match of the night, triple threat, CM Punk versus LA Knight versus Jey Uso. Rules of engagement for this one, simple. Whoever wins this becomes the number 1 contender, and they could go on and face Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. Seth Rollins, just, my God, he was kind of pulling a Dave Matthews song. It's actually one of my favorites from his one and only solo album titled Some Devil. For you younger folks out there, check it out. It's actually a very, very good underrated album. But I can't think of the name of the song, but it's in the first, I think, 3-4 tracks. And Dave talks about experiencing a car crash, basically. Life was so good. His head was just in the clouds. He's feeling all humble and grateful. He's so appreciative. Life is good. And this is how Seth Rollins was rolling throughout the entire freaking night. I mean, he is just, yo, I'm so good. And, he's given the Bronze their props as well. He's given the Oracle, Paul Heyman, his props. Kiss the man on the forehead. I mean, and then he pulls a Rocky Balboa. He's going, yo, other than my child being born, my beautiful wife, you guys, oh, you're just the greatest moment. And you're just looking at this. And I can't really speak on you all's behalf. You guys got to sound off and let me know. But I'm hearing all this and I'm just picturing myself in my recliner as Fred Flintstone going, what crud? What a bunch of corn. I'm like, come on, man. Like, what the hell? But I'm going whatever. Like somehow this little celebration is going to be interrupted. Like his car is messed up, the limousine at the Vision, maybe rent it for the night, that's going to get destroyed somehow. Like something's got to give here because there's just no way, no how. And I kind of was on the right path, but I did not see it going in, the direction that it was going to, at least not this soon. So CM Punk coming out as the victor in that triple threat match. All right, you go, okay, nice. This is cool. All right, so it's CM Punk yet again. All right, he wins the right. I'm with you guys that are like, yo, when is it gonna be LA Knights time? What's up with that? And then what the hell is going on with Jay Uso? We don't really have that definitive. So why again is Jay Uso kind of like all up in his feelings right now, right? Because we're getting kind of these mixed vibes from Jey Uso. It's like 1 minute he wants you to with him and do the little hand gestures and all that good stuff, but then the next minute he's got the Sour Patch Kids face going on. Whoosh, that's wrong. Whoosh, it's like, and you just want to go, man, shut up, man up already. Jesus, you pointing the finger at everybody else. Won't you take some goddamn self accountability already, dude? Like seriously. So, just that's all I gotta say, right? But you got all that's going on with Jey Uso and everything. But you're looking at CM Punk. You're going, okay, it's CM Punk here yet again. He wins the right to face Seth Rollins. Okay, great long build, slow cooker of storytelling. To WWE's credit, they've been doing it right between both of these men. And I love the fact that when Punk won, he wasn't able to celebrate the victory that long because, as Punk likes to say, that annoying ass music comes on and Rollins is coming out there and it's like, oh, not again. Like, Jesus, what the hell? So Breaker comes out there, hits a freaking spear on Jay and Knight. Punk gets beaten down while Rollins is throwing out there a whole bunch of hot trash talk. I mean, it was like, okay, Vision is standing strong. Okay. And we see the credits pop up. Executive producers, Paul Levesque, Lee Fitting. You're going, well, this was a nice little fun addition. What a great way to pretty much close things out. And okay, nice little incentive for being up so early and, creating some nice little buzz chatter online and all that. All right, good stuff. Can't speak for you guys. You guys got to sound off and let me know. But I had the remote control in my hand. I'm getting ready to, watch the news. And the next thing I know, like right as I'm about to change the channel, next thing I know, wham! Seth Rollins gets speared from Braun Breaker. And I mean, sometimes you see Braun Breaker, he'll do these type of spears where he's trying. One thing I love about Braun Breaker and his spears, because I've seen some lazy ass spears where it's like, damn, dude, did you even really, like, I've seen some spears where it's nothing but air, the shoulders like nowhere in the vicinity of the person, and the person just drops. Like, okay, whatever. Roman, pretty good spear. I've always felt Edge and Goldberg had the best spears.
That was until Braun Breaker came along, and it's like, yo, Braun really throws his body into that damn thing, right? There's a big difference between how Braun does a spear versus Edge versus Bill Goldberg. There really is a big difference. And so for Seth Rollins to really commit, because go back and watch that, Rollins really committed to that damn spear. I mean, it was a beautiful setup. And so you're going, wait, what the hell is going on here? So you see Rollins getting speared. Paul Heyman is looking on so stunned. I love the shock look on his face. Heyman, as always, does a fantastic job selling the moment that you're supposed to be heavily invested in as a fan. You know, whatever the focal point is supposed to be. Heyman with his facial expressions. Heyman reminds me a lot of Larry Fine, Mo Howard, Curly Howard, Larry Fine, the Three Stooges. I say that to say this, and it's not in the way that you guys are thinking, oh man, that's an insult. No, no, no. What I mean by that is go back and watch an episode of The Three Stooges. Particularly, you know, I would recommend watch it during the Curly era and definitely the Shemp era. Okay. When they started messing around with, oh, I used to know the other guys' names. Um, I would say after those first two eras, that's where the Three Stooges, I would say Larry Fine started having more of a vocal and physical role. But when you go back particularly to the Curly Howard era and the Shemp Howard era, watch Larry in the background. Larry is like the unsung hero because he's doing all these really cool facial mannerisms. He's doing a whole bunch of quiet stuff in the background that just really makes you appreciate just the overall skits that's going down and everything. Everybody is so focused on Curly and what's, you know, how's Mo gonna get him physically here, or okay, how's Mo gonna get at Shemp, you know, but you really got to be watching Larry in the background because he's really setting it up there. He's the unsung hero, and that's Heyman for me and everything. But yeah, Breaker, you know, looks at Bronson Reed, pretty much says to him, "You're either with me, or you're against me." And Reed is like, "Fuck yeah, dude, let's go ahead and do this." Yo, that track and zoom in is getting annoying, isn't it? So let me do this real quick because like it's just doing its own thing randomly. Let me see if I can help you guys out with that real quick, and I can multitask at the same time. So once that spear goes down, Bronson Reed, he's like, F it. Yeah, I'm with you. He climbs up to the top rope, hits that damn tsunami. Paul Heyman, he can't believe what he is looking at. And Bronson walks up to Heyman and tells him straight up, you know, what's up? You know, you either in or you're out. You know, you either with us or, and Paul Heyman reluctantly goes in there, and I think I see. I just turned it off. Hang on here. Let's turn this off too, and that should do it. Let me see. No, it's still doing the auto tracking. I'm still trying to figure out how to do this. You guys gotta bear with me. I'll try to figure this out a little bit more in the background. I don't know how the hell I was able to turn this on, but I'm already annoyed at the damn son of a bitch. But anyway, no, so it ends with Paul Heyman and the Bronsons standing tall, standing strong, and you're like, wow, what the hell. And of course, now there's already reports that's running around going, so what really is going on here with Seth Rollins? Is the guy injured? Does this guy maybe need to take some time away? You know, and here's where things really come back to bite WWE in the ass. I personally feel. Let me explain here because remember, we had WWE, what was it, just a couple of months ago when Seth Rollins had that whole injury thing, and you're like, oh man, like this is a tough break for Rollins. Can't believe this is going down. Wow, this is so unfortunate for Rollins. What the hell? You know, and then you're going, well, hey, you know, next man up. And then I don't know if it was the guys over at bodyslam.net that broke the news, but then you hear this, oh, well, rumor has it that, you know, this is just a work and Rollins is getting ready to, you're like, no. Like when you first heard that, you're going, no, that makes no sense. Like, come on, man. Like, no. But then sure enough, we saw that WWE essentially they swerved us. And I know I was here on this show, and I know some of my friends in the podcasting world, you know, they pretty much had echoed the same sentiments I had, which is okay, so you essentially cried wolf here. But what happens when you do this again, right? What happens if you say next go around, oh, you know, due to injury, then it's kind of one of those, is it really? Are you sure? Like, because now you're going to question everything, right? Now you're going to question everything. And you're going to be like, you know, is it really legit? I am so annoyed at what's going on with the whole. I'm trying to like see if I can like fix this right now because it's really, 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 really annoying, the tracking. So hang on, let's take a quick pause here because I want to know how we can turn this off. So let me show you guys the hand gesture real quick. Okay. And then what happens if we just okay, so we're doing the hand gesture and yet somehow it is automatically just zooming in. It's automatically auto tracking. And like we don't need all that tracking to be on. So let me see if I can kind of figure out for you guys how I might be able to turn this off. And if I can turn it off, great. I'm trying to help you guys out because I know that it's like a little bit annoying. So I'm trying to see if I can figure out how to take care of this for you guys. But I don't know. It might be something I'm going to have to play around with in post-production here. I got auto sleep. Let me tell you what I'm looking at right now. I see gesture control. I see auto framing. Like I tried turning that off already. It wasn't doing anything. Zoom, I turned that off and it was still doing its thing. So that's kind of weird. Let's see. It's not autofocus. That's not what we want. Exposure, anti-flicker, image. None of those is it. Let's see. What else we got? I see a remote control. I don't know what that's about. I'm clicking on it and it's not doing anything. So I don't know what that's about. Yeah, guys, I tried it. This is something I'm gonna have to play around with more behind the scenes. But just bear with it. Just bear with it. You know how animated I can be with my hands too and everything. So it's kind of annoying that when I'm moving around and everything, you know, if I go like this, right? Like that's freaking annoying as hell, man. It sucks. But okay, it is what it is. Anyway, Where were we? So, yeah, I was here on this show as well as some of my friends in the podcasting world going, okay, so this could come back and bite WWE in the ass if they're not careful here because you really shouldn't be doing injury angles like this because then what happens when the real thing happens? Now you're gonna have the fans going, okay, did that legit? Is it real or no? You guys are just, come on, really, really, and there's no more of a moment that I can think of. I know a lot of people will look at the Rollins thing and just go, shame on WWE, but how soon we forget? How soon we forget? Remember one of the main originators that have fans going, is this real or is this WWE trying to figure out a way to get sympathy from the fans and trying to uh, get this person over more with the crowd? Remember when all the stuff went down with Roman Reigns and when he announced that basically his leukemia had returned? I've been on the air that long that I can remember being right here on the show reacting to that chatter that was being put out there by fans saying, yo, this is WWE BS propaganda. They are doing this. It's fake. Roman ain't got nothing. They're just doing this so they can get the man over. This guy has been their pet project for so many years, and the fans, they just aren't buying it. So, WWE, they've synced to a new low here. What the hell? For you newer fans, that may sound really insane to hear, but legit. And it wasn't a case where it was like, okay, out of 100% of the fans, we're talking about maybe 1% of fans that's running around saying that. No, there was at least, I would say, for those of you all that remember that as well, what would you say it was percentage wise? Would you say it was about maybe, well, we know the vast majority of fans were like, hey, Roman, tough break, man, get better. But like when you think about that other percentage of those that's like, it's fake, what would you say it was around? Maybe 30%? Definitely not 50%, right? Definitely not 50%. We can agree on that. But it kind of seemed like maybe it was about 30%, not 40%. If you maybe want to kind of push it to 35%, that could be, I think that's kind of stretching it, honestly. But definitely like 30% of fans was out there on social media thinking that it was fake what was going on with Roman and everything. So this is almost kind of one of those, how the chickens have come home to roost because now you got the reports being put out there. Something's going on with Seth Rollins. There's a picture that's running around of Rollins from over the weekend where he's interacting with a fan while his arm is in a sling and he's having some ice cream. Then, of course, after everything went down on Raw tonight, we had Rollins kind of favoring that same arm, that same left arm, which has a lot of people going, what exactly is going on here? Shout out to Mike Johnson and them over at PW Insider. They're noting that Seth Rollins' removal from the Vision during today's WWE RAW was reportedly due to Rollins suffering an injury at Crown Jewel. The belief within WWE is that Rollins hurt his left shoulder while performing the coast to coast diving headbutt on Cody Rhodes. However, there is not yet any official word on the nature of the injury. So that is definitely a to be continued. When you hear that piece of news. So I would imagine at this point, let's assume that this news is accurate. Mike Johnson very seldom, his reporting is way, way off. He got it wrong or whatever. Very seldom that happens. Let's assume what Mike Johnson is hearing, is accurate. Then by process of elimination, okay, Lee, so what's probably going to happen next, would you say? Most likely, obviously, WWE, now that their commitments is over in Perth, Australia, they come on back to the United States. Seth Rollins gets some MRIs, all that whole 9 yards, the whole gambit, gets all that done. Probably going to be heading to Birmingham, Alabama there. Dr. James Andrews may no longer be there, but there's a really good team that's there in place of him, and there's probably going to be a lot of tests that's going to be done, and kind of take it from there. Best case scenario, Rollins may have to do a little bit of rehab, and maybe as a result of that rehabbing, he can still be the world heavyweight champion. He's just off television for a couple of weeks selling what had happened to him by the Bronsons. Worst case scenario, it could be Rollins may need immediate surgery, and he's going to be out for maybe 6 months, give or take. Might be able to come back in about 3.5 to 4, but 6 months. I think it really just depends on the severity of that injury, honestly. But that's a general, look, I'm no doctor. I damn sure ain't pretending to be one, but just kind of going based off everything that I had learned of the human anatomy, because I did take my fair share of classes, especially within recent years and all that, and I scored pretty good. Pretty good. When I say pretty good, I scored A's in virtually all of my classes. Some I got a B. That's B as in boy. But for the most part, I got A's. So I think I kind of know what I'm talking about here. So we'll see what happens, right? So we got all of that. But man, I think the one thing that a lot of us are going collectively, well, we knew eventually this was going to happen. But the real question was when we were expecting for the betrayal to go down. Because for me personally, I felt that WWE was going to milk this whole thing with the Vision going at least until the night after WrestleMania. Then, boom, it goes down. But the fact that it's happening right now, it really does make you take a step back and question, so what's really at play here? Because it just seems so far, but I'm loving it. I said a long time ago, and it's great to see other people are now connecting the two. But I said a long time ago, WWE does this right, especially with Bronson Reed, and Bronson's his career, he's going to be fine. He is going to be fine. But for Braun Breaker, I say, you do Breaker right. You got yourself a Dave Batista evolution situation here. And, as far as whether or not Breaker is going to rise to the occasion, without a doubt. The man has proven himself time and time again. He can handle that weight. He can handle that smoke. Okay. So, I expect nothing but big things to continue to happen, for, Breaker. And, it's so interesting because the directions that WWE can go with this. You can go so simplistic as, Seth got soft, right? It was all about individual accomplishments. It wasn't about, man, you can go in so many directions. Hey, we decided to just put the knife in Seth's back before he did it to us. We wanted to beat him to the punch. There's so many directions that you can go with these guys, but man, if this isn't a true career defining turning point of a moment for Seth Rollins, I don't know what may be. I really don't. And what I mean by that is when you really stop and think about it, you go back to when Rollins betrayed the Shield and how that just really put him on another level. But then, we also went through that period where, for many, many years, Powers in WWE was trying to make it be the Seth Rollins show. And you just, all right, Rollins is by himself. Okay. Then they put him with Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, the Authority, and J&J Security. And, we've seen so many incarnations that, everything just felt, right? And then ultimately, we see Rollins go through his Joaquin Phoenix Joker phase. And that was kind of like, right? I've been here on this show and I've said, man, it just seems like over the years, Seth Rollins has pretty much just done a copy of a copy of a copy, to quote one of my favorite Nine Inch Nail songs. And it's like, when can we really see this guy truly? Then when this whole Vision thing started coming about, I always personally felt, well, look, Rollins doesn't need a mouthpiece. He can pretty much do that on his own, especially if he's in the right zone, he's got the right opponent. And as far as material goes, either he's left to his own devices or maybe it's a collaborative effort, but he's got those moments where he can deliver some really, really good stuff. So the incorporation of Heyman, he really doesn't benefit from this. So if anything, it's all about the Bronsons. That's what this is all about, and them getting the rub. And mission definitely accomplished. Again, trigger being pulled way, I won't say too soon, but I will say, because there's a big difference between saying way soon and early. That may sound like the same thing, but let me explain. It goes back to what I said a few minutes ago. I'm pretty sure a lot of fans were expecting this to all go down next year. Again, like night after WrestleMania, likely. Or right around Royal Rumble time, and somehow Breaker wins the Rumble, and it's him that goes to Mania, and maybe it's him and Rollins, like, right? Or it's just night after WrestleMania, Braun turns on Rollins. One of those deals, okay? So the fact that the turn is happening now you're going, oh, okay. Well, I ain't complaining. I'm interested. I'm invested. Just don't fuck up, WWE, right? So, well, we could be on cloud nine right now because it was good. They sold this perfectly. I love what they did with this. So that is that, and definitely stirred up a lot, boosting a lot as well with that segment. Of course, some people are going, is this a mind game type of deal? Is it mind games that Rollins is playing to pretty much set up CM Punk going into, people are always saying, is it a swerve? I don't think it's a swerve. I really, really, really don't think it's a swerve. I really don't. But you guys sound off. Let me know what you think. Some other stuff we could talk about from tonight's WWE RAW. Hope you appreciate that in-depth stuff for what it was worth, because everything else we're pretty much going to be like in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. Intercontinental Championship, Dominic Mysterio successfully retaining over Penta. By the way, Dominic getting that new tattoo on his neck. That is badass. I am digging that freaking tattoo, man. I love it. I personally, I wouldn't get it. And that's mainly because the line of work that I'm about to go in, I can't really be pushing that type of stuff. So I got to be mindful of that. That's something that my friends and family, they're very cautious when they're talking to me about the tattoo. And for those of you that are like, tattoo, what's going on, Lee? He basically is paying homage to The Mysterios, basically. He's got this really cool mask tattoo that's on his neck. I mean, it is covering up his entire neck. And it is really, really badass. I looked at it and I said, that is some damn good ink. If I would have had enough time instead of playing around with the webcam, I definitely would have uploaded the image of Dom, but it's very easy for you guys to come across. I mean, he's been boosting about it all over social media. And I'm just going, man, first off, let me tell you something, as somebody that, does have a tattoo. Let me tell you something. The trickier of the area where you're getting that tattoo, the higher the probability that there is going to be a nice little level of pain involved. Like, even for those that maybe have gotten tattoos all over their arms, their legs, and all that, like, if you've never gotten any type of ink done on your neck, that is oof. That's all I gotta say. That is oof. Okay. So you gotta have a high tolerance for pain, or just be under the right type of medication or under the influence so that you can just be chilling and let the tattoo artists do what they need to do. I would not. There's not enough money in the world. I would not do that type of inking. I just wouldn't. Again, because of the line of work I'm getting ready to do. Like, I couldn't, and I've got friends and family that's on my ass. I can't tell you, when I got my first tattoo, my friends and family were all on my ass going, you sure you want to get that? Are you sure you want to? They're like, well, just put it on the inner arm. I'm like, well, that was always the plan. And now that I'm talking about getting new ink on my outer forearm, now they're all really flipping the hell out, and they're going, dude. And I'm saying to them, look, I can always wear a long sleeve shirt. And they're like, okay, but what are you going to do when it comes to summertime? How are you going to bypass it when it comes to summertime? And I'm like, I'm just going to have to roll up my sleeves before I go on air, and then, when I need to go on air, then my sleeves are obviously going to have to be down. It's like, I thought about it. I'm all right. And they're like, oh, no, dude. So, but God bless Dom Mysterio. I love the ink. I love the ink. I think it's badass. If there was ever a time where I wished Corey Graves used to have this really cool show where he would sit down with folks and he would talk about their ink. If there was ever a time where I would love that series to make a return, it's like now more than ever, because some people I'm seeing, I'm going, I want to know what's going on with their ink. I want to know the story about their ink. Great match though between him and Penta. Dominic Mysterio retaining there. I know final moments of that matchup. I could have sworn we saw Rusev. Yeah, Rusev had came out. He got taken down by Penta, and that distraction pretty much had set up Mysterio to grab the title and the timekeeper's hammer. And pretty much as you would expect, referee not able to really get a good grasp on everything. Mysterio pretty much clocked Penta with the hammer, successfully retaining the championship off of that. But nice little fun match. Really continuing to have the ball roll there with Mysterio. Love the fans that are just encouraging Dom on. They're loving the hell out of this dude when he's cheating. They're really, really cheering this dude on big time, as was the case in Perth earlier tonight. They were chatting him big time to put the screws in there or Penta and all that. So really fun, interesting moments. Good match, better than I had expected it to be, honestly. We had Rhea Ripley taking on Kairi Sane. Kairi Sane, oh, that poor girl. Once again, being slapped real hard there, bitch slapped by Asuka. Asuka tried to let Kairi Sane, no, I ain't having it. Go out there, take care of business. Kari's like, but my forehead, look at my forehead. Look at the last time I had locked it up there with Rhea. Asuka gave no fucks. She gave no fucks. Solid matchup. Rhea Ripley coming in with the win. That was about a 17-minute match, give or take. Great that we saw Rhea Ripley out there once again, and also scoring another W out there in her homeland and everything. Nice, good feel moments and everything. Rhea is really starting to look like her old dominant self as opposed to the previous months. Um, the Kabuki Warriors, though, you're just looking at the current trajectory. You're definitely going, okay, at some point, the Kabuki Warriors, they got to get like a milestone W here. Otherwise, it's going to really start looking a bit lump-sided here. Rest assured, when they get back to the States, they're going to get theirs. They're definitely going to get theirs. Post-match, Ripley goes after Asuka. Same makes the save, though, with a kendo stick. Asuka, DDT, and Ripley onto the announcer's table. So, a little bit of extraction of retribution there. Earlier in the night, there was a match with Bronson Reed and Jimmy Uso. Bronson Reed picking up the W. So if you're keeping track, wow, in pretty much 24 hours, the Aussies have gone over back to back. Yes, you are correct about that. Storyline purposes, you're definitely looking at what happened right here, and you're saying, all right, this is just further a continuation of what's happening with the bloodline issues. It coming to a boiling point here, and all of that. I know Jey Uso had came out and tried to help. He pretty much got his ass handed to him for what it was worth. Jay did not look happy when it was all said and done, pretty much mouthing off at Jimmy, letting him know, told you this was pretty much what was going to happen. Unfortunate stuff. Loving it. Loving the drama, though. Loving the drama that's going on. Bailey, Lyra Valkyria, meanwhile, picked up a W over the Judgment Days, Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez. So it seems that Lyra may have figured out how to calm all the personalities here. Like, I'm loving what's happening with Bailey and these different sides to her personality. But I need for WWE to continue to keep in mind, look, you created great intrigue with the fans when you were showing Bailey, cycling through these personalities and all the stuff that she's doing with her social media. Like, you got to continue to incorporate that. Don't, now that you have Lyra in the mix, don't have it be a case where that's now taking a backseat. You still have to have that be on display. And if I were to maybe get at WWE and say, hey, look, if you want to try to figure out a nice little way to tackle this while being respectful, but having a little bit of fun with it as well, there's a TMC show that I like watching. There's quite a few of them. I definitely love the My 600-Pound Life. I like watching that one. There's another one with this cute looking woman. She's got black hair. She's a big girl. I can't think of the name of the show. But if I'm flipping the channels and I see that she's on, I'll watch it, and she's cute. Like, she's lost a little bit of weight since the series began, but she's still a big girl. I'm going, yeah, I'd still ask for her phone number. Like, she's cute. But there's this one TLC show called Bailing Out Loud. And if I could just have WWE like writers, producers, I would show them an episode of Bailing Out Loud and go, look, if you want to try to figure out how to essentially approach the Bailey character for like television purposes, like this is pretty much how you do it. So for those of you that have never watched Balin Out Loud, it basically documents this young woman named Balin Dupree, and she is navigating with Tourette's syndrome. And it features her parents, her siblings. She's got a fiance named Colin, and Colin is so cool. Like you root for Colin early on because you're like, wow, this guy's cool. Like his intentions are he's very sincere. This guy just wants nothing but the best, for Balin and everything. Like he loves her, he accepts her for all her flaws. Like that is so freaking cool. And Balin, I mean, she has these series of really, really intense verbal tics. Okay. And these verbal tics, man, I mean, she's been experiencing this since she was a little girl, like way before she was like age 10. She was experiencing all of this and all that. And she didn't get diagnosed with Tourette syndrome not until she was 17. So to kind of give you guys a little bit of full context and all. And then in addition to that, she also has a obsessive compulsive disorder, right? So there's a lot that's going on there. So I would show an episode of Balin Out Loud to WWE, and I'd be like, look, if you're still trying to make sure that you're on, you're playing it safe, you're riding that fine line, maybe kind of take this approach. Because remember what I said here on this show several weeks back when they first started this thing with Bailey. I said, yo, WWE, they gotta be careful. They gotta be very, very careful because there are people that are dealing with some form of a mental disorder, multiple personalities, you name it. And I remember when I had mentioned this initially on social media, one of the first things that a knucklehead, because that's what I like to call them, a knucklehead has said to me was, shut the F up. It's fake. And it's like, yeah, who you telling? It's like, but still, it's like if you're WWE and you got these responsibilities to sponsors, advertisers and all that, you want to make sure that, you're not like, I don't want to say glorifying, but you want to make sure that as sensitive of an area that is, that you are being the most respectful to it, even when you're trying to do something comedic with it as well. And it kind of seems to me that WWE has been really, they went there a little bit and now they've just kind of really been scaling back and everything. So now look, if WWE is all of a sudden kind of having second thoughts, then it's kind of one of those, and I don't think they are, because especially based on what the commentators had said, they said, hey, it looks like Lyra Valkyria has finally figured out how to harness those personalities to her advantage. By the way, Bailey, the outfit that she was wearing tonight, good God almighty, good. I mean, she was drop dead gorgeous tonight, the outfit that she was wearing there. But, yeah, I don't mind seeing Bailey, losing control, snapping, and all of that. I don't mind that. I especially do not mind Bailey continuing to team up with Lyra because, it seems the pointers, and Bailey is giving Lyra pointers. It seems that's working. Lyra is, less and less becoming more of, okay, now she's invested in the part. Whereas, it seems like this girl's reading Hamlet, or struggling to read Hamlet. What the hell's going on here? So I love that. I love what we got going on there. But it's working. It's working for now. Very curious to see where this continues to go. At this point, you can't help but wonder if these girls are going to get an opportunity for a shot at the tag titles. Curious minds definitely want to know. Let's see. From there, Stephanie Vicaire. She was chatting it up with Jackie Redmond. Vicaire pretty much riding that Cloud9 wave and everything. She got interrupted by Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez. Roxanne Perez saying, yo, if everything had went down the way that it was supposed to go down, I should have been at Crown Jewel. I should have been facing you for that championship. Hell, it should be me that should be the women's champion, not you. Stephanie Vicaire pretty much telling her, well, stop complaining about it. And, when you're ready, come do something about it. You want to fight for it, like anytime you're ready. So Roxanne Perez letting her know, yeah, it's definitely going to be on my time when I'm ready. So interesting little pivot, I got to say. Interesting little pivot, because I was expecting for maybe Becky Lynch and Stephanie Vicaire to maybe cross paths on this Raw, do a little something, because it seemed like with what they did at the conclusion of Crown Jewel, not just having both winners in the ring, but the fact that they made sure before they went off the air, they showed us Seth talking to Stephanie. It almost kind of seemed like one of those, man, to be a fly on the ceiling, or in this case, on the top rope, to listen to what Seth is saying to Vicaire. You just couldn't help but wonder, like, okay, are we setting something up where maybe Rollins is backstage and, he runs into Becky, and Becky is like, hey, what the hell did you say to Vicaire there? You had me curious. What, were you congratulating her or something? Like, you forgot where your bread is buttered, or you went wandering off on me again? What's going on with you? I would have loved to seen something along those lines play off there, but for whatever respected reasons, maybe they just didn't think, it was nothing. Maybe they didn't want to go there, or there was nothing. Hell, maybe Seth was just congratulating Vicaire. I don't know, but it just kind of seemed like they left things hanging for what it was worth there. I'm just trying to think what else kind of caught my eye from this show. Vicaire, though, she's got to be, besides her whole appearance, I love her accent. I really, really do. I'm just in love with that accent. Hearing her talk English, I'm just going, please, go ahead, continue to talk. I'm very, very fascinated. Like, legit, I'm hanging off every word that you're saying. Very seldom do I really get lost in sweet bliss of listening to somebody with an accent. And it's interesting for me because I have personally found, I can't really speak to you all, but for me personally, I found that the older that I get, the more harder it is for me to understand somebody that has a very strong accent. And the dialect it's just so thick. But there are certain people like Sofia Vergara. Like, I love her accent. Modern Family. Like, love her. Anytime I see her, interview, whatever, like, love her accent. Sophia Loren, that's another one of my favorites from back in the day. And Vicaire is definitely, she's in that same zone as well. It's just funny, man. It's just funny. Let's see. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else from this Raw. I think we covered everything. We went all over the place. It feels like I'm missing something. I know AJ Styles made a brief little cameo. And he said to Adam Pearce, hey, Crown Jewel, that was amazing. Better than I thought it was going to go down. Just wish maybe I would have been able to get a W. Dominic Mysterio comes in there talking trash and everything. It pretty much sets up AJ Styles to pitch a really good idea where he recommends him and Dragon Lee get a shot at the tag titles for next week's Raw. So that's exactly what's going to happen next week. It's going to be all four of those cats locking it up. I remember one other match was announced as well, but sadly, I cannot remember it. One other interesting little note from WWE Raw, they revealed the attendance for all 3 days that WWE was out there in Perth, Australia. 40,503. Because remember, they did SmackDown from, or did they? Did they do SmackDown from Perth? I'm trying to remember. Yes, yes, because if I'm not mistaken, spoilers were put out for that Perth, Australia edition of SmackDown on Friday. So yeah, they did SmackDown, then they did Crown Jewel, and then they did Monday Night Raw. So pretty person is at the door. My Ring doorbell just went off. What's going on here? Oh, cool. It's just wifey. Wifey getting home. Good. Nice to know she got home safely. And we got a little bit of rain that's been coming down over here too. Not really too bad. Not really too bad. The ending alone from this week's Raw, though, really, really helped boost the show a lot, I got to say. Breaker turning on Rollins. Look, I hope it's not for the sake of doing the mind games and all that when it comes to Rollins and Punk. You know, you really can't help but wonder that, right? Because Rollins did say, yo, CM Punk, you will never, ever, ever become the world heavyweight champion. Never. And if you're keeping track at home, he's kind of been honoring that word so far there. So, but great energy that they can ride going into Survivor Series, and they got enough of a nice little bit of time going into Survivor Series and all that. Let's go to the polls. Let's see what you guys had to say about Monday Night Raw. Twitter at the RCWR show. Let's see what you guys are saying there. I just saw it. Where are we? See. Shout out to you guys that's watching via Twitter, by the way, live. All right. Got a tie at 18%. Half of you said it was a C-rated show. Other half of you said it was a D to F show. 27% of you thought it was a A-rated show. And top dog right now, 36% of you said it was a B-rated show. Appreciate you guys that voted via Twitter. And then just for curiosity, let's see what's going on with you guys via YouTube, youtube.com/the RCWR show, and see how you guys have voted over there. Let's see here. I'm looking here. Okay, there we go. And let's click on posts. Oh, we didn't put a poll up on YouTube? Really? I thought we put a poll up on YouTube. Damn. You guys got to forgive me. Old man age. It's getting the best of me, man. Just when I'm thinking I did something, it's kind of like, nope. You sure as hell didn't. No, the last thing I posted on YouTube. Yeah, I'm trying to. So I've been learning playing guitar and all that, and my guitar lessons, I'm pretty much self-teaching myself. I'm like looking up a whole bunch of stuff on YouTube and all that, and sometimes I'll pick some of my because I know a couple of people that play guitar. I'll pick their brains, maybe sit in with them and pick up some pointers and all that. And now I'm like almost getting to that point where I want to try to learn like what song to play. So I've been messing around with the Stone Temple Pilots catalog, and there's a couple of songs that I'm like, see, can I maybe learn this one? There's something I want to learn from the Tiny Music album. I'm not sure about how easy it is to learn. I think that. I honestly think that a lot of the songs on there might be guitar lessons wise. I think it might be too complex for me. I'm trying to have a friend confirm for me. Because they may be like, you don't want to go there, son. Right. So we'll see what happens with that. I'll keep you guys posted. But if you're connected to me on social media, You'll eventually see me in the next couple of weeks streaming the guitar and all that. Hey, real quick, let's go ahead. Let's talk about TNA Wrestling's Bound for Glory pay-per-view event. I don't want to do a full-blown review because by now it's kind of one of those, look, it's been out for almost over 24 hours. And it's kind of one of those, by now everybody probably knows what all had went down and all that other stuff. I don't mind giving quick results for those of you that maybe don't know, but I will give you guys my thoughts on key matches that come to mind and everything. First off, because I kind of want to do, I don't really want to do a full blown review like we just did with Raw, because then you're going to be looking at like, okay, 45 minutes later. But like, I don't mind talking about it for like about 10 minutes and then we move along. So let's see what we can do, right? I did watch the pre-show. I watched the Inspirations, Cassie Lee and Jessica McKay well, no, they won the titles, the tag titles, didn't they? Because wasn't the tag titles like vacant or something like that? Or no? I remember something weird going on because I know Ash by Elegance. I know she stepped down and not really sure what's going on with that. Maybe at a later date, she'll reveal what all is happening with her. But Inspiration, they picked up a victory over Heather by Elegance and M by Elegance. I gotta tell you, I am really, really a big fan. I said this before, but I can't help but reiterate it again. I am a big fan of M by Elegance. Man, I'm looking at her, and the first thing that really comes into mind is, damn, that girl is tall. She is tall, and I mean that in a positive way. I mean, she's almost got like this Amazonian thing that's going on, and she's a ginger, right? Now, some people may say, "Nah, she's not really a ginger. She's really a kind of like a dirty blonde." No, she kind of comes off as a ginger, for me. Maggie Peters is her name, and she has wrestled under a few different names. She's wrestled under Maggie Minerva, Maggie McKinney, Maggie Moore. She's almost 6 feet tall from the research that I did of her online. And like, you notice her legs. I mean, this girl is tall. I'm just looking at her, and you know what really makes her stand out? I did not know this until I really looked up more about her over the weekend. She was trained by Seth Rollins. Bullshit you not, she was trained by Seth Rollins. So, she as far as like how long she's been at it now, as a wrestler, only a couple of years. So still a baby. Still a baby. And she is very young into her career. She's not even, I don't even think she's 25. I don't even think she's 25. So she is still, she's in her 20s, but she's not even 25. So, I'm looking at her, and I've seen her other times, and each time I've just been taken away, and I'm going, yo, you can do some really good stuff with this woman. And I'm really, really hoping that if people aren't really taking her behind the scenes, this is where it's kind of one of those, man, I miss a Gail Kim, or man, like, where's that Sarah Del Rey? Like, TNA Wrestling really kind of doesn't really have that, right? Not unless they can, maybe with Mickey James or something. I don't know, but that's besides the point. M by Elegance, you see the potential. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of rough around the edges with her in-ring work. Make no mistake about that. But I also see a lot of potential as well. And if they can just continue to invest the time and all that in her, I think some really big and cool things will happen to her for her career. I will say this, from the last time that I had watched her, I definitely saw a nice little amount of improvement. Steve Macklin defeating Frankie Kazarian singles match for the TNA Intercontinental Championship. So Steve Macklin is your new international champion. Tessa Blanchard defeating Gia Miller. A very short match. Gia Miller, I had to pull a Shaquille O'Neal with Gia Miller. I had to go, Gia Miller, I owe you an apology. I was not familiar with your game. I love what I saw of her as a wrestler. I did, even though it was short, I wanted to see more of her. It's so funny because as I was watching the pre-show, I was going, where's that girl that I remember offering constructive criticism for? Because I wasn't feeling her as a presenter for the shows. I felt that it was a case where, and I was I was truthful with my words, but I was, and I meant it not in a bashing way. My whole thing was, look, Gia Miller, she's got a great looking face. She knows her stuff. That's great. But to be the presenter for these pre-shows and all that, my whole thing was, nah, man, we need somebody that doesn't have that strong of a southern accent. We need somebody that's a little bit more mainstream, pop friendly of a voice and all that. And whoever is the new brunette that they got, I don't know if she was on the pre-show, because I'm trying to think if it was her on the pre-show. No, I remember seeing. Oh my God, what are the two commentators for TNA Wrestling? They were the ones that pretty much was welcoming us and talking to us throughout the pre-show. But I thought that the backstage female interviewer they had, I thought she was pretty good for what it was worth. But I remember some months back, I said, yeah, Gia Miller, great looking face, just the southern accent is like, it's too thick, and you got to widen out your net, if you're trying to really, really branch out and grab those fans and everything, unless you really don't give a damn. So I thought it was kind of nice how they made a transition to having Gia Miller be in the ring. And I loved what I saw of her in this match against Tessa Blanchard. Tessa was really, really doing a lot of the work here. I won't say she was carrying Gia Miller. Remember Gia Miller, she ain't been wrestling that long herself. She's only been at it since like 2019, 2020. So she ain't been at it that long. But I love how they had Tessa Blanchard pick up the W. I love that they had to have her resort to cheating, basically using a roll of quarters upside the head of Gia Miller to get the dub. I don't think they're done. I don't think they're done with each other. Frankie Kazarian and Nick Nemeth co-winning the 22-person intergender Call Your Shot gauntlet. So as a result of that, not only do they receive a contract, they got the trophy. They can invoke it anytime within 1 year for a championship match of their choosing. That would come at full display later on in the main event match there, as Mike Santana defeated Trick Williams to become the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Solid matchup. We started to see a little bit of fuckery there as Nick Nemeth had came out. He was ready to cash in the briefcase or the contract opportunity immediately when the lights went out, came back on. Elias was behind him. Nick turns around, wham, chair shot to the dome, lays him out. Elias tipping his hat to Mike Santana. We're thinking we're about to go off the air, but then it turns out Frankie Kazarian was in the ring. He's trying to cash in the opportunity. Mike Santana lays him out. Mike Santana safely walks out, closing out the pay-per-view as the TNA World Champion. Nice, cool moment to see him drop to his knees and hand the TNA World Championship to the feet of his daughter. and the whole story about, look, he's been doing everything, busting his ass, trying to provide that really good life for her, and everything. He's done everything. Everything is for her. Everything I do because of you, Brian Adams, look it up. Hardy's defeating Team 3D tables match for the TNA and NXT tag titles. This match really could have gone either way, couldn't it? It could have went either way, but the Hardys went over. Bit of a surprising moment that came that I don't think many fans were expecting was for the Dudleys to take off their boots and hand them to Matt and Jeff Hardy. And you're looking at that and you're like, oh wow, we're watching the Dudleys. Wow, this was their last match. Holy shit. Could the match have been a little better? It could have been a little bit better of a match. I will admit that. But you know what? Anytime you can have me as a wrestling fan kick back and say, yo, I don't saw John Cena and AJ Styles go at it in a classic of a matchup. And then we follow it up the next day with the Hardys and Dudley's. Like, yo, I'm okay with that. I can just hear people, complaining about the fact nobody bleeded. There was no blood. I can hear that complaint right now. I wish Edge and Christian could somehow been involved in this, It's kind of interesting because on the one hand, you look at this match and, I didn't mind seeing a lot of the nostalgia stuff. There's definitely a lot of nostalgia spots that was in this match. And I didn't mind that whatsoever. I'm down with that, right? The ending did seem a little bit what the fuck. I will admit that. Towards the end of the match here, there was a standoff as Bubba Ray is looking at Matt and Jeff for what seemed like an eternity. It was like nobody was doing anything, and that just kind of made me go, is there a glitch in the system here? Oh, I see the mosquito that's been in here. Hang on, guys. I think I got it. I think I got it. I hope I got it. I really, really hope I got it. All right. If you've been with me, like last week, there was a mosquito that right at the start of the show, I was like, what the fuck? And I've been trying to get that mosquito ever since. I think I successfully killed it. I don't know. I'll know in a little bit, though. I just saw it at the corner of my eye. That was kind of funny. Anyway, but it seemed like they were looking at each other for a really, really long time where like nobody was doing anything. And then the Hardys dropped the chairs, double Uranagi on Bubba through the table to pretty much pick up the W. So, look, I will admit that when you looked at this match, the years of physical brutality that these men put themselves through, it caught up to them. It definitely caught up to them. I was a little bit conflicted. I was kind of sad because I knew this, as a fan, I'm going, man, so many fond memories. So many classic matches, insane matches. This wasn't a bad match. It wasn't a bad match. I would have been all right without it, though. Right? Like, I would have been all right without it. If it was a case where somebody got really, really sick or there was like an emergency, like, as a fan, I would have been fine. It's okay. Like, we got decades of matches that we can just go revisit over and over and over again and show them to our friends and next batch of wrestling fans and all that, right? They didn't hurt the legacy, their respected legacies. They did not hurt them. But when you watch this match, you'll see what I'm talking about. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. It was what you expected. Let me put it to you that way. I think that's the realest, simplistic way I can break that match down. It went the way you thought it was going to go down. A couple of spots here and there. They were going to be moving, pretty damn slow. If anything, I just thought it would have been a little bit more, if anything, I just thought it would have been a little bit more interesting. Just would have thought it would have been a little bit more, what's the right word I'm looking for? At times it felt like I was watching. Now put your right foot on the blue circle and turn. Now put your left foot on the orange circle and turn. It felt like I was watching a step move rather than a match / fight of fluidity. And again, it goes back to a lot of what has been done to these guys' respected bodies over the years. Matt and Tom is who I was thinking about earlier, as far as the commentators who was doing their thing on the pre-show instead of Gia Miller and all that. Let's see. Other matches. See here. Kalani Jordan defeating Indy Hartwell to retain the Knockouts Championship. Kalani's doing pretty good. I've been checking a decent amount of her in TNA off and on the past couple of weeks. She's doing pretty good. The System picked up a victory over Order 4, 10-person intergender hardcore war match. Try saying that 10 times fast. That was kind of a guilty pleasure in a sadistic kind of way, I gotta say. It's kind of one of those, man, I wish I was able to play with some of my favorite female wrestlers and have them take on men wrestlers in a hardcore bloodied match. Well, now you get your dreams fulfilled. What? It's almost kind of one of those type of deals. Watching this, I had never seen anything quite like this before. This was a fun clusterfuck roller coaster of good. I gotta say, I enjoyed this. This was actually one of my favorite matches of the night. I gotta say, it was one of my favorite matches of the night. Good stuff, nice, crazy, insane stuff going on in this one. Let's see what else. So that's the System. By the way, Leon Slater and Javon Evans, fantastic match. Loved it. This was a good match. Look here though, WWE, the hell with Dark State. Those guys do nothing. I mean, not the drizzling shits. I thought Tony D'Angelo was bad. This is next level. If I got to choose between Tony D'Angelo and Dark State, like you can only pick one or the other, and you got to, they're going to be with your company for the next 5 years. Pick one. I'm going to go with Tony D'Angelo every day of the week. Because at least with Tony D'Angelo, I know once I get him in the ring, he's going to give me some pretty solid good shit. He almost kind of reminds me of Nunzio in a way. He almost kind of has that Brooklyn Brawler type of deal where I can pretty much plug and play this guy wherever I need him. If I get a situation where somebody a little bit on the higher card is injured and I got to do something temporarily, like, he is one of those safe guys that I can always rely on, and I can pretty much plug him in where I need him to be until I can get my first string guys back on the field, right? But I can't do jack shit with the dark slate guys. So even if you were to say to me, all right, Lee, well, is there at least one member of dark slate that you're looking at and you're going, I can do some stuff with that guy. I can make some money. No, hell no. I'm so tired of dark state. Seriously. It was almost kind of one of those, you just close your eyes. You know, you're at a strip club and, you know, you're getting a nice, good dance from, you know, the stripper, and you open your eyes and there's just some silver tooth, 600-pound, big fat black guy sweating profusely and one eye missing, and he's just looking at you. He's in your face when you open your eyes, and he's just looking at you. I mean, it's just kind of one of those, get away. It's probably a bad analogy, but you guys get the, like, Dark State is bad. Pretty good. Pretty good event overall. I kind of revealed the results already about what most of you had thought about TNA Bound for Glory. But looking at the polling results, looks like the vast majority of you had said it was a B-rated. Hang on. Correction. Hang on. That's that one. Looks like the majority of you guys had said it was majority of you guys had said it was a A-rated show. Seeing a tie at 7%. Half of you said it was a C show. Other half of you said it was a D level to a F level show. 33% of you all said it was a B-rated show. And the top dog right now, 51% of you said it was an A-rated show. Appreciate you guys that have voted on that. Let's see. From here, let's talk a little bit about... let's talk about some of these releases that had recently come about from the WWE ID program, and some other releases that had occurred. So I want to make sure that we're giving you guys the most definitive update on some of these releases. So in case you missed it, Wes Lee, definitely one of the most surprising names to be on this list, as several NXT and WWE Performance Center talents were reportedly released from their contracts on Friday. Shout out to Corey Hayes of Bodyslam.net, who was the first to report the cuts, and these were later confirmed by the folks over at Fightful. So the list is as follows, as it was headlined again by NXT's Wes Lee, and Stevie Turner and Lance Onai. Yeah, Roman Reigns' cousin. So here's what we got. Wes Lee, Steve Turner, Lance Onoi, Jen Tala, Draco Knox, Hayes Jameson, Summer Sorrell, BJ Ray, and Jamar Hampton. Obviously, Wes Lee, that is without a doubt the most surprising. You know, you think back to when he was Desmond Xavier, working in multiple companies, including TNA Wrestling, doing his thing there with the Rascals, CZW, Lucha Underground, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, signed with WWE back in late 2020. Started off in a tag team, MSK, with Nash Carter, and Nash Carter and all that controversy that went down there with Kimberly, wasn't it? Yeah, just unfortunate. Won the 2021 Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classics, held on to the won the NXT tag titles on 2 occasions. So definitely seemed like he was going places. And as we remember, once Nash Carter was released from WWE in 2022 because of all the stuff that was going on with Kimberly, all that controversy, and we talked about it right here on this show and everything. Lee's role became very, very, it was shaky. It was almost like this dude was non-existent and everything. Eventually, he won the North American Championship, held it for a good little stretch. It was definitely past 200 and something days. I think it's like the second longest or something. Like it holds a record for sure. Last year, Lee turned heel, which the timing of that was great, considering a lot of us were like, yo, what's going on with this guy? How come they're not doing anything more with him? So it was almost kind of playing to those narratives and all that, but they never really kind of did anything more. I mean, little bursts of things here and there, but that really was it. So in regards to who we want to talk about next, in regards to Anoa'i, who was wrestling in MLW and Japan, the guy just signed with WWE last year. I remember when we were talking about that. Cousin of Roman Reigns, Uso, Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu. Guy never made an on-screen appearance before getting released. So, and Turner and Anoa'i, they confirmed their releases on social media. Stevie Turner saying, my time with WWE has come to an end. I've had a brilliant time and I'm so excited for the future. See you soon. So, look, going back to the cousin, for all we know, the powers that be in WWE, maybe they got a better look at him, and it was a case of, look, there's already some type of, stuff out there, but maybe under their system, they got a really good handling, and honestly, it could have been one of those things where, the name, it's always been selling for us. You can never do wrong, but this might have been a rare case where they said to themselves, yeah, we're really not seeing the progression the way we want to. We're okay. It's a really surprising move when you think about it, because you would just think that, oh man, this family, like their cousin and their cousin's cousin, and you want a job too, I can hook you up, just drop my name and you're in. And right, they might be able to get you in, right? They might be able to get you in, but can they, can you do what you need to do to remain in? That's the thing. And obviously this was a case right here where, he wasn't able to do that. Let me send a little joint to the wifey real quick. Ask her if she can feed the girls. Because I thought I was going to be off the air by now. All right, there we go. I gave her heads up. So besides that, also we had some releases that were part of the WWE LFG series, which, as you all know, is kind of their new version of Tough Enough. And these are pretty much inexperienced performers. Basically, they got to do what they can to impress the hell out of WWE legends that's like acting as judges and all that. And you guys can watch that on Tubi along with the Evolve and all that. So we had some other names that were released from there as that list. Let me give you guys the full list of how those releases are looking here. Bear with me. All right, so we have here BJ Ray, Hayes Jamson, Summer Sorrell, Draco Knox. Hang on here. Oh damn, okay. Hang on. Just give him some treats. Poor wifey. They just threw a curveball at her. She was supposed to be off tomorrow, and I was looking forward to that. But apparently she now has to go in tomorrow. So she's actually getting ready to go to work. I hope I'll be able to at least interact with her before she goes to sleep. We'll see. I'm trying to be mindful of the time. I don't want this to be a 2-hour show, but I think we might hit the 2-hour mark because it's a loaded up edition. But anyway, Summer, Sorrel, Draco Knox, Jen Tala, Jamar Hampton, they all got let go. And then WWE ID prospect Jada Steele, she opted not to re-sign with the company. Fellow ID prospect Zara Zakar decided to step away from her prior deal. And then, of course, former Evolve Women's Champion Kylie Ray, she got her WWID status and all that taken away from her. So, last night we were talking about Kylie Ray. We talked about the fact that she, relinquished the championship and, she was going to be stepping away and everything. And you're like, oh, but before you could even ask, like, what's going on, you find out, oh, she's pregnant. And they go, well, that's good for her that she's pregnant. Hey, cool, that's nice and all of that. But then to find out, just some days later that WWE released her, it makes WWE look really, really fucking cruddy. It really, really does. I don't care how you try to spin this, especially if you go, well, look, not for nothing, but it's the ID program. Come on, you can't really, it's the ID program. I'm not gonna put all of the blame on WWE. Not that see, this is a really fine, thin line that we gotta really, when we're talking about this, especially particularly with Kylie Ray, it's not so much about blame because there's no blame whatsoever that needs to be. But if you're looking at things from WWE's standpoint, you definitely could make an argument that, well, for WWE and how they conducted themselves with Kylie Ray, that's kind of messed up that, they let her go after she relinquishes the ID championship, the ID women's championship, becoming the, first women's ID champion. And you're like, wait a minute here, man. Like, you're trying to set the right example, right? You're trying to, put some type of highlight on WWE's ID program where, hey, whoever these people are that you're seeing, right? You're trying to show love to the independent circuit, right? So you're looking at this avenue and you're going, hey, some of my favorite wrestlers, maybe, just maybe, this could be their ticket. Maybe this could be their backdoor way into going into WWE. So if you're looking at this, you're going, hey, I'm rooting for some of my favorites to be able to somehow get hooked up with the WWE ID program. And I know here on this show, we've always been pro Kylie Ray and will continue to be pro Kylie Ray. I honestly would not be surprised, though, just, if Kylie Ray were to pick my brain just off the record and be like, Lee, what do you think about my release? Like, did I have it coming to me? Like, did I do something wrong? Like, I would say to her, in all honesty, no, you did not do anything wrong. You have continued to live life to the beat of your own drum. Look at what all you've been able to do in your career thus far, naturally and on your own. You have had such a massive following that has stayed connected to you over the years and have followed your work religiously in and out. They have been with you. They are what ultimately helped you come under the radar of Tony Khan and AEW, and then to ultimately, let's not forget she also was doing some stuff there with the NWA, Billy Corgan and them for a and then if everything would have played out the way that it was supposed to play out, would have been real interesting to see how things would have, right? Here's somebody though that gets to say, look, I worked for NWA, I worked for AEW, I worked for TNA Wrestling, I got to work for WWE. Like, even though she didn't make it to NXT, even though she didn't make it to the main flagship shows, to still be able to say you got to work with WWE, man, that's really good bragging rights and everything, I would tell Kylie Ray, no, like, you didn't do anything wrong. You are living life. And, when you get to a certain point in your life where you're thinking about starting a family and or continuing to add on to that family, your employer does not have any control over what you can and cannot do with your body. So do what you're going to do. The optics of this on WWE side, it looks so fucked up that, to my point, if WWE is suddenly saying to themselves, man, we don't need to be hooking up with people that, are maybe a little bit older, they're a little bit more established, and they've got a family, and, they've already got a kid in the picture. And okay, well then, first of all, you got to figure out exactly with your ID program or whatever you want to call it, you got to figure out, like, what are the priorities for you as far as what you're looking for, how you're trying to properly utilize this program. What is the mission statement for this program? Remember, this program, it kicked in October of last year. This is a hybrid model where independent wrestlers, indie promotions can participate, training outside the traditional NXT, WWE Performance Center pipeline and all that. And it was just February of this year that WWE introduced the men and women's ID championships, and they were to be defended on the indie circuit. And if a non-ID wrestler won, they received a WWE ID contract, right? So you got all this, that's factored in and everything, and I would not be surprised if WWE is maybe, with some of these departures and everything, I wouldn't be surprised if for the ID program, if they're maybe reevaluating the current ID structure, and if maybe they're trying to do some tweaks to it and everything. Now, look, in the situation of Kylie Ray, one thing that I want to make sure, it's stressed. Kylie Ray's contract was not renewed. So for anybody that's kind of thinking, well, WWE is going to be able to, Kylie Ray, she can sue them, or no. Understand, her joint was, hey, that's weird. Now I got a green light on the webcam. I'm sorry that I just, but something weird happened just now where I had like an open palm out for like 5 seconds, and my webcam just went green, because for the longest time I had a purple light. And so when I would move to the left or I would move to the right, it was doing this weird tracking. But now, I want to throw my hand up again, but I don't want to, I don't want that annoying tracking to come back on. So we'll leave it right where it is. But yeah, I would imagine that, WWE, they're probably, looking at maybe restructuring, reevaluating the ID model, and they should. You can also bring up the question of, these exits in general. Is it suggesting maybe the program's incentives or structure that maybe needs fixing. I can't remember which girl it was with WWE, but I know one of them had said, they pretty much had confirmed that, yeah, you get a WWE contract that's like $78,000, but then you got to do taxes, you got to factor that in, and then you also got to factor in you got to eat. And then on top of that, rental cars, all that. Did we already mention traveling besides hotel expenses? Like you got to factor those in as well, right? All that on top of taxes. And so when it's all said and done, you're hearing $78,000, but by the time you get done with all that, your cut is probably going to be looking at about, maybe if you're lucky and you're being really, really frugal about it, maybe you're going to be looking at about $53 to $59,000. So, that's not really anything to really be hooping and hollering about, especially when you were getting more lucrative offers that would have had you making so much more. So it really comes down to how bad do you want this dream, and what are you willing to do? Are you willing to put in the time and the investment, to get yours and eventually command higher and all that, right? Of course, the other question comes to mind is with that women's ID title being vacant, who maybe is going to step up? Should WWE maybe hold a new tournament, open challenge, all that other stuff? Like, who knows? But I don't think for a lot of these people that were released, I don't think it's definitely not a budget thing, in the case of the ID, which we talked about, but then for some of the other releases, it honestly could come right down to a case of, well, look, not for nothing, but we got all these other people that we could be investing our time and energy in, and they are showing real progress. And when you have that level of competition going on, like at my university, for example, I was just curious to know if whether or not we had a music program. Because I was thinking to myself, wow, I have yet to see people walking around with their instruments, be it out in the open or it's in a case. Like I've yet to see people, what the hell's going on? Turns out we do have a music program. And I was doing some digging around, and I was able to determine, like, out of the whole year, they get like about 600 applicants that's trying to get into the music program. And when it's all said and done, think about that for a second. 600 applications that my university gets a year, and they only accept 30%. 30%. That is like, woof, so the competition is really, really real, right? Right? Like you really got to bring your best A game and everything. Otherwise, it's kind of one of those, well, look, we got this person over here, right? So, if you're WWE, you are in a much different position than you were 10 years ago. A much different position than you were 10 years ago. So I think this is going to continue to be part of the new norm when it's all said and done, man. So shouldn't come shocking or anything like that. Also, just happened a couple of hours ago, Ridge Holland announced that WWE will not be renewing his contract when it expires next month. I'm sure that is a name that a lot of people are probably like jumping up and down. I know a lot of people to this day have not forgiven that guy for injuring Big E, even though it was a accident, and accidents can and will happen. Ridge Holland, that is somebody I did watch a little bit of some of his stuff in NXT, because WWE, they tried to capitalize on some of the stuff that was going on, and it just he never really took off in general. The guy has been with WWE since 2018. So you cannot say this guy did not get opportunity after opportunity Probably the greatest claim to fame, SmackDown, Brawling Brutes, right? And then after that, that's when things pretty much really went kind of downhill for him. Yeah, he went back to NXT, challenged Dragunov for the NXT championship, mingling around there with Chase University, but Nathan Frazier, Axiom, Fraxium, never really. I mean, that pretty much was it after that, right? Pretty much was it after that. So he is now in TNA, for those of you that are not aware. Matter of fact, last month he debuted. He attacked Mike Santana. And then at Victory Road, Holland would face Santana in a one-on-one match, of which he lost. So you guys a full idea what's going on with him. So speaking of Big E just recently did a podcast with Stephanie McMahon. And one of the main highlights, he talked about what's going on with him as far as his in-ring career. And it kind of seems like he's really at peace now with himself and likes this new phase of where he's at right now. Every time I see Big E and whenever the talk of, what's going on with your health, hey, any chance you might get back in the ring, he's always been consistent, but it's one of those things where sometimes you can look at a person's facial expression and you can just go, oh man, you can tell they're still hurting. You can tell that, it's kind of a sensitive topic to be going into, but Big E is like, hey, I've pretty much moved on, and hey, life is good, and he's always the outlook I've always appreciated about him. He's always been coming off like one of those half glass empty. We'll look at it from this perspective. Hey, look, things could have been a whole lot worse, and I like, we need more people like that in the world. Not everything is doom and gloom. I sometimes have to say to certain friends and family members when I hear bad news from them, I know that they want to vent and they're looking for somebody that can give them empathy as well as sympathy. And I give them all that. But after I hear, what they lay out, I always say to them, okay, we'll look at the bright side. Here's this. And then I always say to them, hey, look, you think you got it bad right now. It could be a lot worse. Just think. And I don't just stop at it could be worse. I go, look, XYZ, this could have happened. I mean, perfect example. And I don't need to be long-winded with this. There were some car issues last week. Like, I know 2 weeks ago, I had the car gremlin bug. You guys saw it. I shared some of the pictures on social media. Got my tire real good. And, we eventually got that tire replaced. And then not even a week later, my girl started having issues with her ride. Matter of fact, she was at work last week, hopped in her car. She was ready to come meet me on campus. We were going to go grab a bite to eat somewhere. Her car would not start. The engine was dead. I'm like, wait a minute, didn't you just replace the engine not even a year ago? She's like, yeah. I'm like, what the hell? So the car gremlin got her and she was freaking the hell out. Anxiety. Cause she's like, oh my God, this is the last thing we need right now, especially going into the holidays. And I told her, I said, babe, I hear you, but look on the bright side. You got a household where, we got 3 cars that are basically accessible, right? All right. So this car is going to be out of commission for a hot little bit. All right. It's cool. We'll be all right. We got, the next car, right? Like, look, it could be a lot worse. Like, it could be a situation where there's no cars. How you going to get to work? Well, I would have to use public transportation. I said, not that that's a bad thing, because, but like, right? She's like, true. She's like, it'll work itself out. And sure enough, eventually we were told what was going on with the car. it only cost us a couple of $100. Honestly, I thought it was going to be much worse, and that was her main concern, was that it was going to cost a couple of $1,000s, but the work that needed to be done, so it's always kind of one of those, I always try to tell people, like, when you think shit is about to hit the fan, or things are just, this is doom and gloom right now. It's like, you always gotta look at things from a half glass, half empty, half full type of, and it seems like that's the approach that Big E, I think deep down inside, Big E knows in his heart of hearts, look, man, this could be much worse. I could have ended up like Christopher Reeve, or worse than that. I could be dead. And so it's nice to see him really embrace life after wrestling. Speaking of life after wrestling, just kind of going back to Bound for Glory, it was really nice. I got the biggest smile on my face when I saw Chris Bay come out, and he had shared the Bound for Glory attendance number. I think it was like 7,794 that were in attendance. Pretty good number for where they were at. And again, over the weekend, they were at the Massachusetts. They were in Massachusetts at the Tentago. I don't know how to pronounce that. Tentagos Center at UMass Lowell. UMass Lowell. That's pretty much what it's known as. UMass Lowell, right? So, but yeah, so check that out. I've only heard like a little bit of clips here and there for Big E's interview. I'm definitely looking forward to going back and listening to a lot more of it. John Cena's final opponent has been revealed. It looks like it would appear it is going to be Gunther. I have been saying for the longest, I remember, and I will challenge myself for the next week, going into next week's show, to find the audio. But I remember saying, yo, I would love it if it could be Gunther. Hell, I would love it even more if it could be Braun Breaker. So if it's going to be one of those two guys, yo, and if it's official that it is, at least the reports that's running around right now, reports are suggesting that Gunther is going to be getting that opportunity. And what's really not quite known right now, though, is how are they going to string that together where Gunther is revealed? Because you got these rumors that's still floating around that maybe there's going to be some type of a tournament, and the winner of that will win the right to face John Cena in his retirement match and all that. That's going to be happening right here in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Tickets are going to be going on sale this Wednesday. I will not be going. The tickets are just, it's way too damn high. Way too damn high for my personal taste. Not really, it's not worth it. Not for me. I will enjoy kicking back at home. The only way I will go is if somebody says, I got a spare ticket. Are you interested? That's the only way I can see myself going. But beyond that, nah, I'm good. I'm good on that one. See. Also, you guys heard about what's been happening with Justin Credible? This guy hit a new fucking low. So if you guys had missed it, apparently this dude, he's been begging for money every time you turn around. He's always creating some GoFundMe and all this other stuff. And, it turns out he's just taking this money and he's not doing anything, right? Oh, I need money for this. And, it's disgusting. Every opportunity this guy has in utilizing some type of a platform to exploit money from fans, he's doing it. And the first couple of times, sympathy and all that other stuff. But it seems like now a lot of fans are really putting their foot down, as they should. I know Maven's video from several months back where he exposed Justin Credible, really put a lot of people on point, really made them aware of what this guy was doing. You know, people are buying stuff from his little website and he's not fulfilling orders and all that shit. And it's like, what the hell? So this guy posted that he uh, got out the hospital because something weird had happened to him. And basically, he had no money to get home. And so basically, he was asking people if they could send him money. He'd appreciate it. And he shows this picture where you got the little electrical pads that they put on your body to basically monitor you and all that on the little monitors and everything. You're looking at all of that and you're like, wait a minute. This picture doesn't, this looks funny. This, are we sure this is legit? He doesn't even look like he's really at a hospital. Like, what the hell? And sure enough, you know, leave it to the great detectives online that's like scrutinizing backgrounds and all that. Mosquito. The mosquito is still in here, guys. I thought I killed it. Damn it. Oh my God, it's still in here. Anyway, hey, he's got mustard or whatever, some type of condiment in his beard. And you're like, wait a minute, something. And then, so he kept trying to, you know, once he got exposed for that, then he tried to do something else. It's just really sad. It's really freaking depressing what's going on with Just Incredible. It really, really is. And it's stuff like that. The main reason why it's rare, I will promote a GoFundMe or an Indiegogo campaign. Wait a minute. Many times over the years, that was not the mosquito. That was actually a gnat. Many times over the years, you know why I got gnats? Because in my bedroom, you guys that have seen the pictures, you know, I got all my plants. And so don't ask me how, but somehow a gnat, which has now, it's not like, oh my God, I got a serious gnat problem, but I do have these weird little plant gnats that are kind of, it's annoying as I don't know what. Anyway, sorry about that. Um, you know, that's why it's very rare I promote a GoFundMe or Indiegogo campaign. Very, very seldom. I have had many times I will get an email because we sell advertising slots, you know, for the podcast and all that. And I'm always networking. I'm making my business to try to, you know the right people and all that. I ain't Shaquille O'Neal. I'm not going to just whore myself out for the mighty dollar. It's got to make sense, you know, to promote it. I got to really love the product. I got to be invested in the product. I got to feel like, okay, well, this product definitely, hey, this is valuable. And I think the listeners will definitely find this valuable, very useful to them, right? So if I like it, then it's kind of one of those 9 times out of 10 listeners are going to like it as well. And hell, you know, if they can't check it out, they're going to at least hook somebody up and be like, yo, you should check this out. So, but over the years, as long as we've been doing this show, and we've been doing this show now for 13 years, going on 14 years come November. November is going to be our anniversary. And I'll get people, you know, hey, could you promote my GoFundMe? And I've had people that have said to me, you know, I'm about to get put out on the street and I don't know where my next meal is going to be coming from. Can you promote my GoFundMe? And it's like, and I would tell them, you know, hey, sorry, but, you know, really sorry that you're going through this, but that's something that we really, you know, we don't do that. And I will tell them straight up. I will say, look, you know, guys, you want to be hitting up Red Cross, Salvation Army, you know, you want to be hitting up your local churches and everything, because they can definitely help you out with a lot of that stuff. And either I won't hear a reply back, or, you know, they'll get mad and be like, you know, I don't understand. Why can't you promote this? And, you know, and over the years, I'd be very honest with people. I would say, you know, I cannot and won't promote this because, you know, there's been many people, not saying you specifically, but there's been people in the past that, you know, hey, can you promote this? And it turns out it's a scam. It's like, so the only time I will promote a GoFundMe or a Indiegogo campaign or whatever is when it's what I consider a well-known celebrity. So if it's maybe a veteran actor that's fallen on hard times, or one of our favorite wrestlers, and we're like, oh, well, this person never got in trouble with the law or anything like that. Oh man, they're just coming down on hard times. Like, this is so unfortunate. Like, what the hell? And it's great how we all come together and we help that person out. I just saw a video the other day of a woman, older woman. She looked like she was maybe in her late 40s, early 50s. She messed up delivering food to some house. And I guess she felt so bad she came back, because I don't know what was the story. I don't know if she like delivered the wrong food or whatever, but she came back to the house and was apologizing, and she was just talking about how stressed out she is. And it turns out the house that she was at, if I remember right, it turns out it was a pastor or something like that. And they did like this really cool GoFundMe for her. And last I heard, like, they were able to raise like $60,000 for her and all that. And it's like, wow, that's so freaking cool and everything. But yeah, it's like, you got to be careful with some of those. And with a guy like Justin Incredible, he really makes it hard for individuals like me to use my platform and go, hey guys, check this out. Like, hey, if you could help, that's great. And usually when I promote a GoFundMe or a Indiegogo, I always, 9 times out of 10, I'm putting my own money up, and I'm going, most times I do it anonymously, and then sometimes you'll see my name clear as day. I will go anonymously because it will be a much higher amount, and I don't need to hear it from why you coughed up how much. Like, I ain't trying to, and I don't need nobody else that's somehow connected to this, like, and then she finds out how much, like, I don't need that. But yeah, just, it's sad. It's sad. It's disgusting. I really hope this guy gets help. I really, I hope he's able to turn the corner and for the better before it's too late. From one ECW alum to another on a much lighter note. By the way, shout out to Raven. It broke my heart to hear that this guy has Parkinson's. I have seen it with my own two eyes. What it's done over the years to those that I love and care about, and wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Seriously, very, very unfortunate. But Raven is powering through, man. He's got this documentary that's going to be premiering next month on Prime Video. And he's already on tour. Apparently, he's going to be coming to Baltimore next week. Jimmy Seafood. I guess they're going to be doing the screening and all that for the documentary. He's even going to be doing a Q&A. I'm thinking about going, but I'm trying to see if, first of all, if Tams can maybe get off from work. And then I'm trying to see like what time all of this is going to begin, because, they're promoting it really, really good, but they're not putting the time out there. And it's like, well, what time does this damn thing begin? So trying to see what's going on with that. I'll keep you guys posted on whether or not I end up going to that. But nice seeing Raven in really good high spirits. Really nice seeing him in really good high spirits. Hey, New York Comic Con. There is some really, really good stuff that has come out. A lot of good stuff that's come out. I will end up talking much more about it on this weekend's Wrestling with the Topics. And who knows, maybe we can actually reach out to a friend of the show and Julian Cannon of Digiday and Nocturnal to talk more about the New York Comic Con and everything. But some interesting buzzwordy things that has come out of it so far that I want to share with you. We got ourselves a trailer that's come out for a new HBO original series, a Night of the Seven Kingdoms. And apparently this one, the synopsis for this, it's a prequel to the Game of Thrones. It takes place a century before the events of the original series. So looks pretty good. Go check that out. Also, Marvel's Wonder Man miniseries. Marvel dropped a teaser for that. It's going to be an 8-episode miniseries. Trailer's pretty meta, with talk of an in-universe reboot of a Wonder Man movie. So, check that out. Also, Invincible season 4, it finally is getting a release date. Remember, back at the San Diego Comic-Con in July, creator Robert Kirkman updated fans about Invincible season 4. And like that, Matthew Reyes will be voicing Dr. David Anders, Dinosaurus. Kirkman also revealed that Grand Regent Thrag, ruler of the Viltrum Empire, would debut. And now, as of the New York Comic Con, we'll know who will be voicing him. It'll be Lee Pace, Variety reported. And the release date for season 4 is going to be happening in March. Also, new trailer for Mercy by MGM Studios dropped. Chris Pratt and Rebecca Ferguson, they star in this sci-fi movie. It's going to be releasing in January. Mercy is an advanced AI who acts as judge, jury, and executioner, according to the trailer that's out. Pratt plays a detective who helped develop the program and is now on trial for murdering his wife. If he can't prove his innocence in 90 minutes to Mercy, then the AI will kill him. So a very nice, interesting plot twist there. I like stuff like this, because like when you think about Minority Report, one of my all-time favorite sci-fi movies and all that, and you're just going, wow, look at all of this great, technology and everything. When you think about Minority Report and you think about I, Robot, and you just think about like these movies were so like years and years and years ahead of its time. And now we're kind of at that point where right now with AI technology and robotic technology where we're like, okay, like this is really now a reality, and we're starting to see the dark sides, are we not, of a lot of that shit? And it's kind of one of those. So how do we really successfully combat this and all that? So to see trailers like this sci-fi movie Mercy, it's nice to see topical subjects like this concerning AI be addressed. I know Jon Stewart had recently sat down and did an interview with the godfather of AI, and I would highly encourage you guys to go out of your way and check that out. Some good shit. Also, The Vampire Lestat, a extended first look at that. The Vampire Lestat, season 3 of the AMC Plus interview with the vampire adaptation. Looks like that's taking a bite out of Anne Rice's second book in her Vampire Chronicles series, while interview focused on Louis de Pointe-de-Lex, Jacob Anderson's journey from human to vampire. The Vampire Lestat stars his former vampire lover. So the trailer of that dropped last year at the San Diego Comic-Con. But as far as the entire season, you're going to have to wait around for that one. That's not going to drop until next year. And then Adventure Time, Fiona and Cake, season 2, trailer drop for that one. New episodes will begin airing weekly beginning December 25th. Also, some news for new seasons of Spider-Man, X-Men 97, and Daredevil Born Again. Yeah, we talking Marvel animation, more clearer timeline, and everything. They said season 2 of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, that's going to be debuting fall of 2026. So we got a good little minute to wait there. It'll also be featuring the return of a classic suit Daredevil and the introduction of Venom to the series. Marvel also confirmed that X-Men 97 has been renewed for a third season. Remember, we haven't even gotten season 2 yet, but it's already been renewed for a third season. The second season will be debuting summer of 2026. There's already really cool kick-ass animations running around of how Apocalypse is gonna look during season 2. Looks really fucking sweet. Nice throwback to the Apocalypse that we remember from the original X-Men animated series. And Daredevil Born Again season 2, that'll be premiering in March of 2026 and making their long awaited return to the MCU is my girl Kristen Ritter as Jessica Jones. I have, to this day, I still have the biggest crush on Kristen Ritter. I love me some Kristen Ritter. We also got a first look at Star Trek Strange New Worlds season 4. That is going to be dropping. Remember, that's been renewed for a 5th season as well. That 5th and final season, like that's going to be it. Because remember, Paramount confirmed back in June that Strange New Worlds was renewed for a 5th and final season. But as far as season 4 goes, no release date yet. No release date yet. And that's kind of some of the main little. There's a lot more, especially like as far as like from toy standpoint and everything. But like I said, we'll talk more about that on this weekend's Wrestling with the Topics. And who knows, maybe we can see if we can get Julian to stop by the show and talk a little bit. One other note, two other notes I want to mention. Rest in peace to the beautiful, the lovely, the sophisticated, the savvy Diane Keaton. Passed away at the age of 79. Love this woman. I really, really love this woman. So she passed away last week at the age of 79. Her death was announced on, it was just 2 days ago. So literally it was over the weekend. And as far as what was the cause of death, I know like in that weekend, like nothing was revealed. You just hope that after a couple of more days would go by, maybe we would learn a little bit more. We still don't know anything. The only thing that we know right now is that within like recent months, her health apparently had been on a steady and significant decline. Whatever was going on with her, she remained very private about her condition. So, it's kind of one of those, that really, really sucks. She has 2 children, she leaves behind 2 children. As far as a husband and all that goes, her relationships, it's interesting, because at one point she linked up with Al Pacino and, for whatever respected reason, I'm sure Al Pacino would probably say it was the drugs. But that didn't quite work itself out. She hooked up with, and that was off again. It was on again, off again, on again with Al Pacino. And it all basically started like around Godfather. How about that? It all started around Godfather. She linked up with Warren Beatty for a hot little bit. And if I remember right, she was in her 50s when she finally had children. And those children, they weren't even of her own. They were adopted children. Try saying that 10 times fast. But no, man, she never married, none of that. So I think about some groundbreaking performances when I think about Diane Keaton. I have said this off and on here on the show many times over the years. This is just my personal, what'll get me to sit down and, oh, if Diane Keaton is okay, I'll watch this, right? But one of my all-time favorite Diane Keaton movies, 1977's Looking for Mr. Goodbar. You will see in that movie the debut of a young Richard Gere. And the first moment that you look at Richard Gere and how he's commanding the screen and everything, you just go, yeah, this dude is going to be a force to reckon with, in the years to come. You could just tell the moment that he comes onto the screen. Tom Berenger is in the movie as well. And Looking for Mr. Goodbar, this movie will have a psychological, sociological, profound impact on you by the time you get done watching this. It really, really will. It's based off of a best-selling 1975 novel by Judith Rosner. And it documents this woman, this young woman that basically is coming to age, and she's a New York school teacher, and she when you're first introduced to this woman, she's living this nice, quiet little life. She's got family, she's got a good sister, and and you're like, okay, cool. And she has these experiences where her sexuality, she has this sexual, I guess, awakening, this sexual appetite that just comes from out of nowhere. And she really starts exploring that side of her life. What first starts off as very modest, it becomes an insatiable thirst that she constantly has to quench. And there is there's some stuff that you learn, about her character and all of that. And, it almost kind of seems like when you're watching her character, it's almost she's acting in a rebellious type of way, but it's also kind of reckless as well. And, you got to remember back then, we're talking about the, mid to late 70s, and as we all know, the AIDS epidemic, it really skyrocketed there in the 80s, right? But in the 70s, we're definitely learning that there's like this mysterious disease that's like, taking out people, and just the stigma that was coming, with AIDS, HIV, and all that back then is just, unfortunate. But she is living a reckless kind of life, and it gets to a point where she's starting to struggle balancing the two worlds, her sexual appetite, her sexual identity, and then, her civilian, real world life and all that. And it's such a tragic ending. This movie does not have you going, I promise you, when you watch this, I remember the first time I watched this movie, and I've only to date, I've only watched this movie one time, because By the time I was done, the emotional roller coaster that it put me on, not only was I fucked up in the head, I cried. I cried. I saw this movie for the very first time, I would say back in, I think I saw this movie for the very first time, I want to say somewhere between 2003 to 2007 was the first time I saw this movie. And I refused to watch it again. That's how much you remember frame for frame the story, like, and then the way it ends, it stays with you. It stays with you. And it's just one of those, I refuse. You know, it's right down to the point. Very seldom will that movie come on. Like Turner Classic Movies, it is extremely rare that they will even. I have, if I see it on Turner Classic, I change the channel instantly because like I don't even want to watch it. I don't even want to bother. But yeah, look that up. Just a really, really damn good movie. She was so good, Diane Keaton. She was so good in that movie. A cult classic over the years. It just really, really grew a following. Of course, what Diane Keaton did in The Godfather, you know, I didn't care for her character in Godfather 3. I just felt that her role was very, what's the word I'm looking for? She was a non-factor. She was a non-factor in part 3. But in part 1 and 2, you know, so many people, they do all these great little videos online about the transformation of Al Pacino, you know, as Michael Corleone, you know, and then everything that happened with him and Michael Corleone's transformation. But a lot of people sleep on the transformation that Diane Keaton's Kate character made pretty much between Godfather and Godfather 2. Because if you really stop and think about it, in Godfather 1, you know, when we first meet Kate, she is this playful, hardworking, jubilant kind of woman that is definitely ready to settle down. And, you know, we see how Michael basically is playing the fields. I mean, let's not forget in Godfather Part 1, you know, after Michael takes out freaking, what's his face? You know, he runs to Sicily or whatever. He doesn't even, you know, he doesn't even really, Kate, come with me. Or, you know, he's being so protective, isn't he? Like he goes off to another country, he gets married, all that other good shit. And it's like, damn, you know, way to leave Kate hanging. And then it's only after his wife in Sicily is killed. Like, okay, it's not safe for you. You do better off just going back home to your family. Then he decides he wants to look Kate up and everything. And Kate is just so forgiving. Well, Michael never tells her, you know, hey, I got married and I was banging this other one. Like, he never tells her all that. But the transformation that she goes through, okay, because, like, by the time you get to the end of part 1, especially that final scene, think about that final scene. And Diane Keaton, she just sold that so perfectly. You're like, wow, she's finally starting to realize she's getting knee deep into this, right? All the signs were there the entire time, but like now it's really dawned on her that, yeah, this is not good. And then when you get to part 2, you know, yeah, Michael Corleone, he's now the Don, you know, he's full blown the Don. But now we're seeing Kate. And Kate is now in that position where, like most of our significant others, hey, you promised me or you said to me 5 years ago, da 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 da, and we're still in the same boat. And usually when your significant other is saying that type of stuff, you want to take that at face value because they're basically saying tick tock, tick tock. I don't know how much longer I'm gonna be able to stay on this ship. So you better do what you got to do, cause yeah, and like man, Kate during Godfather 2, she's dropping all these subtle clues that lets you know, Michael, tighten that shit up. Like, come on, man, let's go. But you can see her transformation. She's now getting to that point where it's like, and we see it a full display. One of the uh, best scenes in that movie is when she tells Michael, she's pretty much had enough. She's gonna take the kids, and man, that was so intense. Especially when she reveals to Michael she was with another child, but she ended up getting an abortion, and Michael just cold slaps the hell out of her. Intense, intense. Man, the way they made those movies back in the 70s, man, they really went all blown out, especially physically. Physically, they really went all balls out. Some of my personal favorites right there. I also loved her in the Father of the Bride series. She was good in those. Definitely showed off pretty good comedic side to herself and everything. I personally feel. Just thinking about some other movies. Marvin's Room was pretty good as well. The First Wives Club, that was another one that I actually enjoyed, believe it or not. I actually remember when that movie came out. That was like a 90s type of movie. Her, Beth Midler, and I think it was Goldie Hawn, wasn't it? Yeah, that was another one that was pretty good. Great diversity. Great diversity. Drama, comedy. I mean, she was good, man. Jack of all trades, man. So rest in peace, Diane Keaton. Been awesome seeing a whole bunch of tributes that's been coming out for her and everything. And then also, I had mentioned this on our Saturday show, but I definitely want to mention it one more time here on the show. So forgive me if this may sound familiar to listeners that were with me for our Crown Jewel post show. But someone who I loved talking to a great deal. I didn't get to see him enough, and now I know why. But I remember about 4, almost 5 years ago, when I decided I wanted to get back into collecting comic books. I had hit up a couple of friends and I was like, look, because I hadn't collected a comic book in like 20 something years. And one of my friends was like, well, go check out this comic store here. It's a little place called Beyond Comics. They got 2 locations. And I came across this guy named Travis. Travis, very nice guy. First time I ever come into this store, Travis was actually the guy that I met. And I said to Travis, hey, I haven't collected a comic book in like 20 something years. I'm trying to get back into it. I really don't know where to start. And Travis was so cool. He was like, well, tell me about some of the characters that you used to check out. Tell me about some of the comic books that you used to check out. And I told him, and he was like, well, are you trying to like do something that's episodic, meaning you got to, come back every single month? Or do you kind of want to maybe do it in a way where, you're one and out, and, you can always come back a couple of months down the road and everything's still okay? I said, combination of both. So he told me about some of the big arcs that was going on. And around this time, I think Venom, King of Black, that was just getting ready to wrap up with Null and all that other stuff. That was getting ready to wrap up. and he hooked me on to Donny Cates, Thor. He was like, "Here's a series, since you said you're into Thor and everything. You used to be into Thor." He's like, "I think you'll really, really like this. It's by a guy named Donny Cates. He's one of the writers." And he was like, "You want to check this out? This is really, really good stuff." He was like, and also, and I know for a fact you'll love Donny Cates. I want you to check out God's Country. And then, he gave me a trade paperback for God's Country, written by Donny Cates. And then he also hooked me up with. I'm trying to think of the other series that Donny Cates wrote. It's on hiatus right now. I don't think Donny Cates is ever gonna pick that series back up. If he does, I don't know nothing. I don't know nothing about it. I know he also did some stuff for Hulk, but like I'm only talking about the ones that I had picked up. Um, I'm trying to think of the other series besides God's Country. There's a series. I think he only did like about 13, maybe 15 issues. And as of right now, moment that I'm crossover. That was the name of it, crossover. Travis hooked me up with crossover, and at that point, crossover, I think maybe like at that point maybe they were up to issue 5 or 6, and he was so nice. I remember when he came from around the corner to help me out. He was limping and he was walking with a cane, and I just remember going, "Oh wow," thinking to myself even then, right there on the spot, he didn't have to do that. He could have just point me in a direction, and I would have, But he took the time out, and for me, it meant a lot. It was a really, really big deal because in this day and age, really good customer service, it's hard to come by. And he gave me that feeling how I used to have when I would walk into a comic book store back in the day, or I would walk into a Blockbuster Video, or I would walk into a newsstand, magazine, comic book store, or I'd go into the arcades and I would come across like-minded, very knowledgeable people and all that. Yeah, that's what makes you keep coming back again and again and again. And for the longest time, I would come back to this store, and usually I'd see Travis, and I would say to him, "Hey, man, good lookout on la da 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 da. I loved it, great shit, da da da, all that good stuff." I still remember when I said to him one time, I said, "Oh man, I used to be in the Lady Death and Vampirella," and he was like, "Vampirella, yuck." I was like, "Hey." He was like, "I know why you're checking out Vampirella." I was like, "Yeah, yeah, true. You got me." He's like, "Uh-huh." But yeah, his health had always been, even back then when I met him, his health was on a decline. But it really started taking a serious decline within recent months. He passed away, unfortunately. And look, if there is such a thing as a utopia, hopefully wherever he is now in the afterlife, no more pain that he's experienced. Because I was watching this guy every time I would come up there and I would see him. The guy, I mean, you just read his face. The guy was always in pain. The guy was definitely always in physical pain. So I really hope that he's in a much better place. Shout out to Jim Cornette. I did pay his store a visit over the weekend, and you guys may, if you haven't done so already, it is now available for purchase. You go to his website, and he is now selling his new book, The Heroes and Friends. Heroes and Friends. It's a lavishly illustrated 100-page 8 by 5 by 11 collector's book. And if you're a wrestling fan, this is definitely something that you want to own for your personal library. It's got some really great stories, personal interactions that Jim had with these wrestlers that he's covering in this book. I'm talking Bruno Sammartino, Bobby the Brain Heenan, Vader, The Sheik. It includes 100 photos and memorabilia items. We're talking about a lot of stuff that hasn't been seen in decades. Because remember, Cornette, very passionate photographer, was always taking really good stuff at ringside and all that. So I'm looking forward to checking this out and reviewing it. I don't know exactly when this is going to be coming out. I would think we're going to be getting this maybe in time for Christmas. I would like to believe maybe that's when Corny is going to have this available. But check it out. It's $24.95. And what's really cool is Jim will personally autograph it for you. So if you want this personalized, you got to specify as you're ordering. Otherwise, if you leave it blank, it's just going to say Jim will just write your friend Jim Cornette. So I think I have Jim Cornette, my personalized one. I think I have him saying to Lee, you fucking miserable Mark or something like that. Your pal Jim Cornette, something like that. So I can't wait to check this out. Should be really, really cool. Should be really, really cool. So check that out. Check that out if you haven't done so already. Speaking of plugs, I definitely want to give a shout out to some of our friends of the show. First off, shout out to my good friends. They literally had hit me up yesterday, and I'm always happy to work with them. We've been working with these guys for years, let me tell you. JustMoviePosters.com. Shout out to my good friend at JustMoviePosters.com. They've got movie posters available for all seasons, no matter what your cup of tea is. So sci-fi, like you name it, they got you covered. Whatever your favorite movie is that you could think of, they got really cool posters for that. And right now they got a special little Halloween sale that's underway. Perfect timing too. That is real perfect timing. That I definitely would recommend you guys take advantage of. Let me just double check real quick. I want to make sure there's not like a discount code or something like that you guys need to check out. Good. Yeah, no discount code. Just right now, most of their items are between $7 to $15. There's a small little charge for shipping. It's now outrageous. You guys will be all right. But again, Halloween is coming up. You know what's scary? Dealing with a bare wall, a naked ass bare wall. So dress it up already. Get some really good stuff from them. JustMoviePosters.com. Happy to be working with them. We've been working with them for, my God, almost 10 years. It kind of feels like. I'd be shocked if it was way less than that, but kind of feels like, I know for a fact we've been working with them for at least 6 to 7 years. I'm sure my guys would tell me over there, no, it's been a little bit longer than that, Lee. Also, I want to give a shout out to our good friends over at, let me see if I can load this up just right. We're going to see how this plays out. Okay. I think that's good. I think we can work with that. Okay. I also want to give a shout out to my friends over at I want to learn SQL.com, your hands-on gateway to mastering SQL, whether you're starting from scratch or updating your data skills. I want to learn SQL.com. Put structured lessons, real-world exercises, and clear explanations at your fingertips. From querying databases to building reports, they make learning SQL practical, approachable, and actually fun. If you're ready to level up your data game, visit iwanttolearnsql.com and start getting confident with SQL today. Your next pivot in tech begins with a solid query. So check them out. iwanttolearnsql.com. We are also brought to you in part by our good friends at the... Hang on. There we go. Hi, guys. We're also brought to you in part by our good friends over at the IME iRadio station. Hang on here. Hi, how you doing? I'm still figuring this out. You guys got to bear with me. Shout out to our good friends over at the IME iRadio station, streaming 24/7, your global soundtrack featuring the hottest indie artists and 90s to 2000s throwbacks mixed in with today's top 40 hits. Think of this bad boy as a world tour for your ears, delivering crowd favorites along with hidden gems. Talking about from around not just the US, but Europe, Canada as well. Tune in, vibe out, discover your next favorite track. Check them out by visiting the IME iRadio station, streaming 24/7. And then last but not least, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Terra Paul Premium. .com. That's spelled TERRA and then Paul, like Triple H, Paul Levesque, Paul Premium. TerraPaulPremium.com. Wake up your senses with bold flavor and smooth vibes. Terra Paul Premium brings you top tier coffee and teas crafted for people who love quality, energy, and good taste. From rich blends to chill herbal sips, they've got your daily fuel covered. Check them out, TerraPaulPremium.com. All of these guys, love them. Sponsors of the show, man. So check them out. Appreciate everybody that's been our Patreon backers. If you guys want to support the show, treat me to a cup of coffee even. Patreon.com/the RCWR show. Make sure you put the THE in there. I also got Cash App and PayPal Stream Stream Elements available for those of you that maybe want to send some tips my way. It's always appreciated. And of course, if money's kind of tight, because we know with this whole federal government shutdown, holidays coming up, do the next best thing. Go hit up the YouTube channel. Hit the like for this very same episode and subscribe as well. We're not just doing the post shows here, but we're also posting foodie reviews. I've been getting more and more in the habit of doing more album reviews. So all of that has been loads fun doing. So check all that out. YouTube.com/the RCWR show. As far as next edition, I know Wrestling with the Topics. We're going to do something with Wrestling with the Topics this weekend for sure. And besides that, I'll be with you guys again for your next Monday night edition of the RCWR show on Monday, October 20th, 2025. Right after WWE RAW goes off the air. Programming note, Raw will be on at 8 p.m. Eastern this coming Monday, October 20th. Yes, we're back to regular day and time, so that's actually good. Meantime, be kind, rewind. Check out previous episodes you might have missed on demand and on the downloads, wherever you get your podcasts. Just search the RCWR show. And until next go round, my pretty babies, hey, do me a favor. Let me know, for you longtime listeners, let me know what you think about how we've been doing it here with the new webcam. I'm curious if you guys notice the difference. If you notice, in a positive way, let me know, because I'm very, very curious. I think before we went live, from what I was kind of seeing, I like what I'm seeing. It worked out, I think, really, really good. I guess I'll be retiring the old webcam. We'll see. But yeah, definitely sound off. Let me know what you had thought about the stream and the webcam presentation overall. And in the meantime, I will see you guys next go round. Wishing all of y'all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. I'll see you guys next go round. Take care.